We all have pivotal moments in our past where we can look back and attribute a portion of our current life to. For me, it's the very first lesson I can remember, a piece of wisdom imparted to me by my mom that has stuck with me till this day. The old adage of live within your means. The reason why this one was so notable to me is because for most of my life, I've had to reconcile this notion with other conflicting ideas growing up, especially here in the Western world with its culture of consumerism. I spent my early childhood in Cebu, an island in the Philippines. While it's still a developing country, I never felt that we were living a life of poverty. We always had food on the table and roof over our heads. But I was already exposed to the Western ideals of wealth and having a life of abundance. So when I first heard that lesson from my mom, I initially took it as a convenient excuse to not have or want to have the things that others had. When we had moved to Canada, one of the first things I noticed was the opportunities afforded to kids to work and make money and buy whatever it is teenagers wanted to buy. I was 12 when I earned my first dollar, and by the time I was 15, I was lucky enough to have a steady flow of income where I could buy anything I wanted from video games to shoes and clothing. So I quickly made the connection between buying things and being happy. Now fast forward late into my 20s, things took a different turn. I could no longer rely on being happy just by buying and owning things. In fact, at one point in my life, the more things I accumulated, the less satisfied I felt. That was when I remembered that lesson from my mom and when I first stumbled on the concept of minimalism. Minimalism can mean different things to different people. But to me, minimalism is unsubscribing from the idea that how much you own equates to your level of happiness. It's an intentional way of living that allows you to identify what's important to you. It's simplicity, and I know that's something we could all use right now. Minimalism has gained a lot of traction in the recent years, and it's sort of becoming the trendy thing to do, so it's very easy to miss the whole point of it. While it brings superficial benefits like the pleasure of a tidy room or the ease of cleaning, it's the fundamental shift in mindset where minimalism has really changed my life. I've long been guilty of spending money just because I've seen others doing it. But it looks like I wasn't alone. In a Washington Post article, a team of Canadian and American economists noted that the average family spending is at an all-time high, even when adjusted for inflation. They propose that this is mainly because of social media and its ability to make other people's spending more visible, and is in turn making all of us spend even more. In addition, we're constantly being blasted with ads each time we go onto the internet and out there in the real world. The minimalist approach I'm interested in is to push back on these pressures and to stop being oversold the value of having more. This is something I've struggled with for years, and it's something I continue to struggle with to this day. But I wanted to make this video to invite people to give minimalism a shot and share some of the steps that helped me get started on my minimalism journey and ultimately declutter my life. Be a true materialist. Alan Watts famously said in one of his lectures that we're not true materialists. In a sense that we don't enjoy or love the material as much as we love the symbol we assign to it. In other words, most of the buying decisions isn't really about the true value of the item, but rather what it means to own one. Now, if you think back to a time when you were deciding to buy an item, at some point, how people perceive you now having that item entered your mind and influenced your decision. And in some cases, we disproportionately assign more weight to that when making our decisions. The point of being a true materialist is to focus more on the material value rather than what it means to have one. And once you do this, you'll quickly see that you really don't need a lot of things. Quit while you're ahead. Have you ever been to an all-you-can-eat buffet and overate to the point of discomfort just to get your money's worth? It's what psychologists call the sunk cost fallacy. It's our tendency to follow through on something if we've already invested time, effort, or money into it, even if the current costs outweigh the benefits. You know that eating one more plate will make you sick, but you've paid the extra price for the buffet, so you disregard the obvious rational thing to do in favor of getting your full money's worth. Now, this behavior is very common in our buying habits. When the GoPro action camera was first announced, they had this epic trailer of a snowboarder seemingly defying gravity in slow motion. At that moment, I convinced myself that snowboarding was gonna be my next passion. I immediately purchased a snowboard and paid for an online snowboarding course. Upon quickly noticing my impulse buy, I was going to cut my losses and stop right there. But something about already spending money on a snowboard made me go all in and bought the rest of my snowboarding gear to complete the whole package. Now, that was over a decade ago, and I've yet to attempt to snowboard. Like me, there are probably things that you're holding on to even if it serves you no purpose right now, just to get your money's worth. Instead, you should consider selling or giving your items away to someone who could actually get the benefit of it. If you're unsure you're committing a sunk cost fallacy, ask yourself this: if I lost this item, would I buy it again? I can fully appreciate the hard decision of letting something go, because you're right to think that you might need it in the future. Maybe this year I'll finally get into snowboarding and get the return on my investment. But if I got my snowboarding gear and say it got thrown away by accident, would I buy it again? Well, no. So this can be a good question to ask yourself as you declutter your home. If it's sentimental, take a picture. Many people hold on to a lot of things with sentimental meaning, like birthday cards or trip memorabilia and gifts from friends. But if you've already taken the previous steps and the only thing stopping you from discarding the item is its sentimental value, then just take a picture of it. If it serves no material value, it'd be much easier to take a picture and just go through your phone gallery every now and then to reminisce. If you're having a hard time letting go of gifts, then consider this. If you can't remember how many presents you've given, don't worry about the gifts you've gotten, because chances are it's probably the same for other people. Think of stores as your personal warehouse. In Fumio Sasaki's Goodbye Things book on minimalism, he encouraged his readers to think of stores as your personal warehouse. Stores pay a lot of money to secure space so they can stock all sorts of goods for us. So there's no good reason why we should swallow that cost by creating our own warehouses in our homes. We used to fall for the trap of buying things in bulk for the better prices you get versus buying them individually. But buying things in bulk required us to purchase additional items to accommodate the need for extra space, which in turn ended up costing more and taking more space. So rather than planning that far ahead for food and other essentials, it's better to take advantage of the very sophisticated markets we have where you can order things online and have it delivered, or the ease of access to nearby grocery stores. And finally, less but better. It's one thing to eliminate the excess, but it's another to go deeper and want less in a world that screams for more. In this last step, it's about internalizing the idea that although we're living in a world of abundance, only a few truly matters. And in the context of physical things, less but better is a direct counter-argument to the pervasive myth that minimalists can't have nice things. Since you'll have more intention behind your buying decisions, you're able to indulge in the idea that you can choose the best products without the lingering remorse. So if you do start your minimalism journey, don't ever think that you can't own nice things anymore. It may just be the opposite now that you'll have more clarity on what to spend your money on. Now, while everything I touched on so far is in the context of physical items and physical space, decluttering in and of itself isn't the end goal. It's really in the mental processes by exercising these steps that you'll notice a change in perspective. It's a feeling of liberation, and not just because you now have more space in your physical environment, but because you now have a clearer mental space. And by applying a tougher criteria on what to buy and what to keep, this inevitably translates into what thoughts to entertain, resulting in a much clearer mind. So that's it from me, guys. Hopefully you give minimalism a shot, and if you're already on this journey, I'd be happy to hear if you have other tips to share. Thank you for watching, and stay kind to yourself.